One. Here we are. Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody on screen, on this Zoom call, and out there and the internet. My name's Jeff Krulik, and I'm really pleased and happy to be here moderating this talk of Jenny Matz's film. My good friend Jenny Matz up here in the left-hand corner. Producer, editor, and director of Rye Coalition, the story of the Hard Luck Five. And I'm happy to present the four members of the Hard Luck Five who are joining us post screening to have this a chat and interactive discussion and a chance to just get caught up and hear all about the film, which you just saw here. And so, Jenny, why don't let's? This is neat. I mean, I'm still getting used to this. The whole Zoom universe. Hope everybody's well and healthy and just doing okay. Jen, why don't you introduce everybody, the members of the band that are joining us here after, that are, we got Dave over there under you. I'll go ahead and introduce everybody. Dave and John underneath Dave, and
Justin.
I knew it was a J. Justin underneath me, and Ralph underneath Justin. And Herb's not with us, but he is the fifth member. And Dave, who's that? Who's in place of Herb? Who?
He's no longer with us.
Yeah.
That's Yoshi Mushroom, the pup.
Yoshi?
Yoshi's taken Herb's place in the band. Herb doesn't know it.
He's just found out.
Yeah, he just found out. He's probably watching.
You
could wave.
Yeah. Anyway, Jen, why don't you? When did the film start? I mean, or when did you first meet and see Rye Coalition?
Oh, good Lord. Well, first, I just want to say thank you, Jeff, for doing this, because you've been a big part of my life and my influence and everyone in this group, and I think every musician everywhere who's ever been a touring band has looked up your work. So thank you for being here, and
appreciate it. Really grateful to hear that.
Supporting the movie always. Good question. Don't remember the first time, but I think it was at Brownies, actually, in Avenue A in New York City, RIP Brownies, that I saw Rye Coalition play, and they blew me away, probably physically, metaphysically, emotionally, every which way. I think I was on the floor. Someone had to peel me off, and I said, I got to start filming this. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen on the stage. And they were just awesome guys, and we got to start a friendship. Not at the beginning of the band, probably around 98, 97, 98. I started coming to shows and toting my huge camera around, my VHS camera.
Oh my God, really?
I stole from the video room at my college to come to shows with. So that's when the love affair began, and the saga has continued.
Who did you first approach to tape or to start documenting?
Well, I don't know if I even asked permission. I think I was just the kid at the club who always had a camera, and they always asked if I was recording, and I always lied and said no. But they could tell who I was.
That sounds accurate.
Dave probably remembers that story best. I think I probably got in touch with Dave about making a movie first. Did I?
I don't know. I think you just did it.
So you were just taping because you were a fan, and but when did you think you wanted to make a documentary?
I didn't know until I saw Heavy Metal Parking Lot that I could make a documentary. I thought I was just making it for my own historical purposes. But I said, well, if this could happen, I can probably do something like that. 18 minutes of love. So I don't think it was until the guys actually went through the process of getting signed and getting flown out to LA that I realized, oh my God, I have all this footage. I think the story of their friendship and the fact that they're able to play all these years together without, achieving what most bands by that point do achieve, which is some monetary success at least. That to me was always the real story. But then I think other people started approaching me like, you have to turn this into a movie. This is, they're going to be a big thing. You got to go out to LA and film this. So I did it, not knowing what I was going to end up with. And I don't think we knew the story until the story told itself to us. I think the guys got a little frustrated that it wasn't done for a long time, but I think...
Anybody want to comment on that?
I think there wasn't a story at all until Jenny made one. Like, we never thought of it as a story, it was just what we did.
I think in terms of your timeline, I realized that I went through the drive last week and I found that Siren Fest footage, which is 2002. But you were commenting, it was really cool to see it because it's just like a full day in the life of the band. That was kind of like the first big show that we were on. And you're there and you're holding court doing the Matt's Machine thing. And that's 2002. So that is you mentioned in that you're saying like you're here to make a video or you want to make a video and you're getting Vin to like say stuff on camera and you're just like,
oh, so it was before.
You had the idea then that you wanted to do some kind of something, and that's 2000.
You're right.
So
You're right. My dream was to bring the band to the greater universe, right? To like get everyone on the planet to be as into this band as I was. So I that was my mission. I just didn't know how to do it.
I seem to remember that.
By the way,
like you being like a real hardcore cheerleader of our band, like wanting to get the word out for our band. I seem to remember that or recall that. In those early days. Because really, you're right, there was no story. I don't think there was a story. I think you just started filming and then, it just kind of evolved the way it did with the band. And you were around to capture a lot of it.
And then I don't know if you're already doing all the for Bill Dana and stuff, but then once you realized how archived footage we had of our own and all of our own tour footage, then maybe the recipe in your head, the Matt's brains started cooking, and then once the DreamWorks stuff started happening, I think because then you were always coming.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up.
Yeah, I remember now.
Ralph, you said you had a lot of footage yourself. I guess you had a lot, or the band was recording. You had a lot to offer.
Yeah, it was John. Yeah, I don't remember.
Who? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, we had a lot of our own footage. Some of it got lost, unfortunately, but there was some stuff that I filmed in Europe that got completely lost, Dave. But there was other stuff that our really good friend and kind of roadie driver at the time, Vin, he always brought his video camera along, and we just recorded a ton of stuff.
High 8. You remember it was a big deal. Oh, it's a high 8. High 8 camera. High 8 video.
He's proud of that.
Yeah, I remember we'd go on tour, and it would just, you weren't even aware, you were just oblivious. And Vin would capture all this really wonderful stuff, and then we'd come home from tour, and then we would actually, I just remember us all getting together and like watching it in review, like on random nights, and just being kind of blown away at what was captured, and just being like, oh my God, this is wrong. Like, I can't believe we actually I can't believe this is what we've done.
Yeah.
It was actually just a combination of like sadness and humor at the same time.
Stuff was like not having cell phones, GPS, maps.
Exactly.
We had like atlases and like.
Oh my God.
Punk rock maps.
Yeah, punk rock maps.
Also,
gas in Texas, like
another interesting thing that's kind of tied into this is that once we got more seasoned and did more tours and had the camera, we would do like stupid vignettes and like skits or especially like Justin would have an idea and he would film something, but we didn't know what editing was, so he would shoot it in the way that without editing it. So he would shoot, cut, and then the next thing, and then we would watch. It would be like it was an insane approach. But when you watch this stuff back, like there's a lot of stuff in the Sound City footage where Justin would like have us doing all these different skits and stuff, just shooting it in real time and no edits. And then when you watch it back, it looks like something.
And a lot of that. There's a pre-movie to this movie that I totally forgot about until you just said that. But the whole burger sugar,
called Casual Friday or something.
There was a movie about the making.
That's all being insane, just like shooting and no edits, but it all looks like it's like you would plan out the shot in the next shot, and then that would be it because we didn't know what film editing or that you could edit film. Or like,
it's true.
Wait, what software would you use in 2004? Is there a Final Cut then? Early Final Cut.
I don't. I mean, there was the
Avid.
Yeah. You didn't have a lot of consumer friendly stuff. I gotta let my cat out. I'm serious.
Oh yeah, you gotta let that cat out.
John, I
remember though, John, what you just said. I forgot about the whole reason why this movie happened when it did is I was doing the Bill Dana documentary and I was collecting footage, and then we got an offer to get money to finish this film, which never happened. But I thought that we were going to do that, and so that this moved to the front center. But then by the time that fell apart, I had done so much work and paid a bunch of people to transcribe it, and
I know.
Moving.
I know what Ralph is going to say before he even says it.
Go ahead. Why don't you say it for me? Yeah, you went through this like big Ed Wood phase where
it's true,
you
very
would
true.
kick around the camera and you would set up all these things.
I was trying to enrich my time on tour and do stuff and broaden my horizon. I would go around the cities and film stuff, and then I would be crucified by the rest of the band. There he goes, Ed Wood with the cat.
you would just do it for like.
They call you Ed Woods.
Yeah,
Ed Wood.
Ed Wood, yeah.
Wood would have been funnier.
Ed Wood. That's fun. Because I was wondering if it looked like you were like there was this scene in the bed. You're in bed. I guess was talking to each other. That's at the end of the film, and and so I just thought, God, they must have had because I know Jen, you must have followed them, or you were in the.
It's not all my footage. Like they said, their friend Vin is the roadie.
Okay. So Vin was in the van shooting, like when you were giving the finger and all that, or talking. Vin, so you're talking to Vin, or whoever's shooting.
Yeah.
Vin's really like a director, and he's actually getting some really honest, reaction of a subject on camera, and you're being really, thoughtful and reflective about your situation where you are. I mean, that must have really worked. That obviously worked great for you, Jen. But that's material that you had that you just did. You turn it over to her? Well, I mean, it wasn't done for the film. In other words, it was just done.
No, I made them give me their tapes. They gave me boxes of unmarked tapes. I mean, there were some tapes that just had 6 hours of Simpsons episodes recorded on it.
We filmed for no reason whatsoever. Just
To entertain ourselves, I think.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great now in the context of what it allowed, Jenny to do for the
It was
documentary.
like 1,000 hours, like at least.
At least.
We would have a lot of before we had booking agents or anything, like we would just have a lot of crazy we would call suicide drives because the way the tours were routed, if we booked with Marcel or something like that, and we would just have so many, like to get from Kansas to Seattle with no shows in between or something like that. I mean, that's like a 3-day drive, and we're young and just trying to pass the time, I guess, and try to do something. And it's just interesting because at that time too, it's I feel like it's just more, you're not as because there's no cell phones and everybody doesn't have a camera in their pocket still. So like some of the stuff seems more, looking back at it. I started to go through the drive actually last week, and I got to that Siren Fest footage, but I can't really, it's really hard for me to go and look at it because it's too, not like it makes me depressed or sad, but it's like very emotional for me. So it's hard to sit there and like go and look at it again in a way, because it's just basically, there's stuff from every era of since, the past 20, because the band has been a band. I mean, the band started in 93. So then there's footage going, it goes back to like late 90s up until recently. So it's tough because you can go and like down these crazy K-holes and see stuff. And like recently too, this last week, Justin found some video that someone uploaded to YouTube of a show at John Hiltz's basement in Westfield from, we were dating it, it's 94 maybe, or 95, where Herb and I are still in high school. So to see yourself, it's like you didn't even know that it existed, and now you're looking at your 17-year-old self completely just, it's very bizarre. For me personally, like that, but I mean, I don't like or dislike it. It's just very like, whoa, it kind of
Sure.
a little
That's
jarring.
But and of course, it is from a time when not everything was being documented like it is
Right.
now, and so it works on a whole
Right.
different level.
I remember, John, you said something to the effect of like that there was, like knowing that there was actually someone in that basement that actually felt inclined to document this
Yeah.
performance of all performances, and then later on take time to upload it was just like sort of like just insane. You don't obviously we didn't go there to perform to be documented. We just went in there doing what we did all the time, no matter what. We were just doing our thing basically, and for someone to capture that was just really nuts. To stumble upon that, it was just really
Very crazy, because that was a very early show, like for the band. That was like a very big, for us to play on that show, I remember was a very big
huge.
time. And then, basically still being children. Like you're still a child when we're literally 16 and 17 and 18. I mean, I guess if you're 18, you're an adult, but really like so it's just strange to know that kind of stuff is out there in a way. Maybe there's even more stuff that people have, because that community of bands, or whatever you want to call that era of music, like there was always that in every town in the 90s, and I'm sure, so many other bands too. Like I can't imagine what kind of stuff is out there for bands that are so much, I don't want to say better, but better bands than Rye Coalition. Probably
Well, just bands that what are maybe
crazy.
more visibility or something,
Right.
Higher profile. But
Right.
yeah, I think that's
Well,
Just
Jay Krulik.
now but back then people did have high 8 cameras, but you still had to want to take, or even VHS, but you had to still take it out and schlep it and
not a lot of
want
people had
to document it.
those, though. I mean,
What's that?
not a lot of people had cameras. Like when I was monitoring the studio, a couple of moderations ago, people didn't in this time have cameras at these shows. Like it was,
Well, you had to really be motivated to do it. If you had access to the
you didn't have access. Like you got them from the public access station you worked at. I borrowed them from school. There weren't a lot of people in the crowd no one had a cell phone. That wasn't a thing at the time. So yeah, the fact that any footage exists of this scene is kind of really cool. And a lot of people donated their footage to me who had taped it. There's a lot of people who found out the movie was happening and just started mailing me stuff, photographs, audio.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you did an amazing job, Jenny. And then also the amount of hours you put in actually interviewing people, documentary style, to get, like, I can't believe that the stuff exists on the drive for me, like for us, that's
I didn't know you still had the drive.
Did everybody get a drive? Did you give a drive to everybody?
Well, no, John tried to help me finish the movie. John was working at a company with his friend Jill Elam.
I worked at a post house for like 3.5 years in 2011 to about 2014 with a good friend who gave me a chance to work there. And towards the end of, Jenny was like trying to get this together and then trying to figure out what to do, and then came up with the idea for her to basically bring it through there for like a friend kind of rate. And then we had Jenny come in, and then we had like one of the editor producers kind of, because Jenny would send a cut. She's like, here it is, 3 hours. Who the hell is going to watch a 3-hour cut of this? Nobody even knows the band.
You're lucky you didn't get the 6 hour. Thank you, Dave, for watching the 6 hour.
And then we were trying to whittle it down, and then we had a really talented guy named Aaron Wolf who helped a lot with like trying to like trim the story down so it's very, I mean, we were really shooting for under an hour. I don't know, is it an hour? I don't remember what the
Hour and 17 minutes.
So, I mean, from 3 hours,
Wow.
literally, Jenny's first cuts were like over 3 hours because she was so in it, and like, it was like, no, you cannot, because you can't do it 3 hours. It's not.
Did everybody take part in kind of helping with the decision, or were others? I mean, Jen, did you let everybody?
No.
I mean, I guess John and Jen, you were mostly, the two of you were mostly doing it, or did you share it with
And
everybody?
then I obsessively tweaked it. Like after that, I obsessively like recut it because there was stuff I had to kind of argue with each of you individually about certain parts to stay in. I know what Dave's worst scene is, but thank you for letting me keep it in. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of it wasn't like a true documentary format where like you're an impartial teller of a story that you're trying to let it develop in front of you. Like I was a fan. This is a fan movie. It's pretty clear that I just wanted to extol their virtues to everyone. So I wanted them to be happy. I didn't want to put out a movie they would be mad about. That wasn't the point. I wasn't trying to make anybody, make enemies.
Also, you weren't shooting a lot of it. What's amazing is so much of this is footage that was shot by Vin, or you had a camera. You said you had a camera too. You were taking it out.
Yeah, and there's trust with that. This is their story. I'm just kind of the conduit. That's how I see it. Like they wouldn't have done it themselves. So
No way.
I thought it needed to be done.
There's also a lot of stuff that should not be seen by beings on those tapes.
And there's a lot of stuff that was not seen. So you're welcome.
Right.
Where was the premiere? Oh, silly question. It was in New Jersey, I'm sure.
It was no. This is how the movie got finished. I was just telling the story. It was at Rutgers University. It was the New Jersey International Film Fest. I submitted a rough cut not thinking it would get in. We got in, and then I had to finish the movie, and that's how the movie. Because I would have kept going. I probably would have tweaked it forever. That was the premiere, and you guys all came.
Yeah. Jersey City.
That was in Jersey City?
Or the Rutgers one.
The one in Rutgers, yeah.
Rutgers, yeah.
First one was
The first one was at Rutgers, in New Brunswick, and then we did screen it at the Lowe's in Jersey City, but that was later. But you guys talk about what that was like to. I mean, you'd seen cuts, but you hadn't seen it finished. I don't think. What was that like?
Seeing it on giant screen
for the first time, like
the first
people
time,
applauding you.
and nothing new, like no expectations whatsoever. Like I didn't know what was going to happen, so it was weird. It was like watching a movie about yourself that you didn't know where it was going, But it was, it told a story from like garbage that we filmed along the way. It was weird.
I think for
who said? I'm sorry, Ralph. Somebody
no,
said.
I think for me there was a lot that Jenny had filmed, and I clearly was aware that she was making the film and all of that, but I think there was at a certain point, and it was after things had ended with DreamWorks and us trying to get our own record out. That was just a really painful time. It was a painful time for me. I think there were tensions between members of the band. I think we were just all so hurt, having worked so hard, and so regarding the movie, there was a lot of Jenny's cuts or stuff that she would send over to watch that I wouldn't even watch it. Like I couldn't watch it because I still think in some ways I was like kind of moving through.
Open
kind of grieving what had happened.
For sure.
I think some of the, I don't know, for lack of a better term, sort of healing came when the movie started to get shown. And I really became, I think, pretty grateful that she had decided to tell our story. Because like she said, it certainly wasn't something that any of us were going to do. We can drag our feet on a lot of things, and it can be hard to get us all in the same room sometimes. But yeah, yeah, exactly. Herb's not here, so yeah, I think it was hard for me to watch a lot of that stuff, and to finally see it, I was like, wow, like. I'm really grateful that all this footage is here, and she took all this time and energy and cared about the band enough to tell our story. And I'm grateful that it exists, as kind of a document or testament to what who we were as a band. And it's nice to be able to look back on that, I think.
I can imagine it must be. I mean, it's such a many multi-year run, decades. I mean, and so you're lucky that you had that material and that it all kind of came together. I mean, Justin. Also, I think does people know that they can type or write in questions if they have any?
People I'm just seeing.
I don't know how this works. I mean, obviously.
Strangest fan encounter in another country.
What? Pardon?
Strangest fan encounter in another country is one question.
Oh, there are questions. Okay. Well, Justin, did you have anything to add? I'm sorry about what.
I think Ralph really nails it when it comes to that particular part, because I just feel like, looking back, it was very, well, first of all, being in the thick of it was just, it's hard to even put into words, and it took a lot of time for me personally, to work through it, because there was just so many, I don't know, emotional things involved. I mean, like, it's like we're obviously family, and it sometimes things don't come out the right way, and sometimes things come out like the worst possible way, and you regret saying certain things, and you regret being certain ways. So it was really, like Ralph says, like a healing process, because there was this gap of time before it was released where, we were all on like different pages. And when Jenny would send stuff, I can completely agree with Ralph. Like, it was really difficult to even look at it. Maybe I'd look at it for like, I don't know, a minute or so, and then kind of like just turn it off, because it just, the wound, like Dave said, the wound was just so wide open. And again, I'm speaking for me personally. Like, I love these guys so much, but at the same time, in these certain scenarios, they're just so magnified. And for everybody to be pulling their weight in, hardcore, which I think the movie really truly captures that. We were such a solid. Everybody was just moving in the right direction together. And for things to sort of fall apart, it's really, really difficult. It's just difficult to process sometimes. you know, and I think at that stage you think it's just yourself, you know, or you just think you're going through it, and then you wind up realizing that this is such a common tale between like so many bands that got to that level that really didn't want that and somehow got pulled into that level and went for it. And I feel like you know, it doesn't make you feel so alone, you know. But so yeah, it's tough. But I mean, you know, we just sort of, so at the same time when you watch it now or you see it, it just sort of makes you much more aware of that bond you have with each other and how it's sort of unbreakable, you know, again. That's my take on it, you know.
Well, I think it's a great testament that you're all still on good terms and able to be together and in even play, which I know you've reunited and performed.
My dad's birthday, 80 years old next year. We're gonna play.
Is that right? Great. I was going to ask how Jack is doing. And
We just
Jack,
need.
He got them back together for 70. He's getting them back together for 80. We're doing it, COVID or no COVID, right? We'll figure
Figure it out.
deal with it
We'll go outside. I don't know. We'll do something.
John's
Yeah,
backyard.
in concert.
Jonathan's backyard, 6 feet apart, right?
You do it at the Moose Lodge on West Side.
so this is a scoop here. It's
No, it's not such a secret, but yeah, what's happened? Jack's gonna make it. You know to Jack, right, guys?
Well, it was new. It's news to me, but
No, you agreed.
did I? I mean, of course I'm going to do it, but I just.
well, anyway, that's
And
good.
distance.
Jack's watching, by the way. He's sending in comments.
Jack's watching. Great.
Watching, he wrote some comments.
Did somebody-
Can I say one thing before we move on to whatever's next?
Sure.
The thing that I really cherish about the film and all the stuff that you put together, Jenny, is when my family came out to see it with my grandmother and my aunt and everybody, they were so proud of us and of my grandmother, and they're like, wow, it really made me feel really good, like, and to have that, I mean, you have the footage too where you have my great-grandmother on tape asking her questions. Tape. But to have that footage of both of them, I feel so lucky to have that document of them and my family. Like, I've sent people, like not distant relatives, but people who have asked to see just the stuff of my grandmother. So I would like export out like all of her, you know, but just to have, I feel so lucky to have that. And I thank you before, but really thank you. And it's so weird that to tie all that stuff in together, it's like, it's an emotional thing for me. So, I mean, I'm glad that I have it all because it's cool to be able to share that with, like, you know, get random cousins of my grandmother that would be like, oh, you know, we heard about the movie. Can you send us the stuff of Lena? You know, I'd be like, and it's just weird. And to see my great grandmother on asking her questions and like just to see her it's such a trip, you know. It makes me thankful, but I wish that I would have did that thing that they tell you to do now that you hear on like NPR where they're like, do your own podcast, interview your grandparents.
Say that. Yeah.
Really do that if you can, and if you're young, you should do it. I had like a high school history class or a teacher that there was a project where I like interviewed my great grandmother, but it was, you know, all written down when I was a kid. But I wish I would have did more stuff like that while they were still around because they had so much, such a cool perspective and so much, you know, like, and they lived through so much, especially like, you know, for New Jersey and like that history or whatever. But yeah, that. Anyway.
Well, I mean, Grandma Lena's the star of this movie. I mean,
Definitely.
yeah, no one. I mean, we did magnets of her.
I feel like she loved.
But just seriously, go ahead.
The
What?
Lowe's. She loved when you did it at the Lowe's Theater. She went and she loved like sitting there and like
Did the
seeing.
press line with us? There's a photo of her like standing on the red carpet with us.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
She loved.
my only regret with that, but I also want it to be a cautionary tale for anyone out there who's like thinking about being a documentary filmmaker or thinking about starting something like this. I mean, I wish the lighting had been better. I wished I used a better camera. I didn't hold the camera like this in my face and be nodding and talking over. I mean, there's a million things I wish that I learned through the course of this that, terrible filmmaking skills, whatever, but it's there. And what you said, I interview people for a living now, and it's the moments that you kind of pass over in this world where like everything is over documented, but not the just everyday like, hey, grandma, like tell me about growing up in the Depression, tell me about World War II, tell me about like what it was like for you, just tell me about my family, and documenting, like just sitting down and letting them talk. It's such a valuable thing, and we forget that, we take it for granted, the people in our lives all the time, and just in this world we live in now, we're losing people everywhere. I would just encourage everybody to go out, and you don't need to be fancy, which is, what Jeff taught me, you just show up in a parking lot with no crew, just get it. Just get it. Yes, it would be nice if it looked like HD, Netflix worthy, but if it's, you have it, at least the audio, you have your history, you have your legacy, and it's something you can share with your children and your grandchildren. So I'm glad we went, and thank you for letting me go, like setting it up so that she agreed to let me come into her home.
I don't think I had a choice.
Cook for me. Listen, she was feeding me chicken parm at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd had 2 bagels on the way over there. I was like, what? Why do you stick it? I mean, the best.
We did get a couple questions here, so I just want to. There is a chance to see you playing live again, and that's next year. For Jack Vito's 80th birthday.
Yeah.
And also, somebody wants to know, is there a way to get merch or get, I guess, anything? And your DVD, of course. T-shirts.
I don't know, Ralph. Is the merch still in your mom's basement, like flooded out? What's up?
No, I'm sure it's there. It's definitely there. It's got to be there.
Think like a web page where we could.
You can go to RyeCoalitionTheMovie.com. You can buy. This is a DVD for kids out there. This is what they look like. They still exist. And you can get. You can contact me, and I'll try and bug Ralph. I'll come over to his house with a cargo van and like move some merch. I mean, you guys have merch.
Is a merch, so people could get it by going to the Rye Coalition.
I mean, the only way to reach these guys and like have them answer is to like write me an email. And
okay, so everybody should go to RyeCoalitionTheMovie.com.
I'll harass them. Happens.
I think if anybody wants merch, they could just come over and get. I mean, what are you going to do? What do you want?
Yeah, right now, the next.
Come to my mother's house. Just show up on my mother's house.
Yeah.
I'd like a T-shirt, a sweatshirt.
What's the Flex Steel guitar? Are you still? Somebody is asking. Are you still interested in another Flex Steel guitar?
Oh, really? Who asked you?
The one we talk about is ready and awesome.
Spec.
Oh, really? It's not really the guy that made the Flex guitar, is it? Tommy?
He didn't sign it. He didn't say who.
If it was really the guy, then I would say please contact me immediately. But the guitar that I had was made.
That done. You can see who it is. But there's one real question. I like this question from Spec that I want to ask you guys before we run out of time. What do you guys wish you had footage of, and wish could have been included in the doc?
Good question.
That we have footage of?
Is there anything undocumented that you wish you had now?
I think I always thought that it would be really interesting to sort of like, how like so many rock documentaries are like, John started here, he went there, and this is John, and then he discovered this music, and then he got caught up with these other fucking dudes, and that's how John met these guys. So like sort of a lineage thing. I always thought that would have been really interesting.
That was in the first cut, Justin. You didn't see it.
Like a
not allowed. Almost like when you're like see a lot of rock documentaries, it's like so and so came from this kind of family, and people talk about them, and you sort of get an outside perspective. I mean, like non-musically, people that don't really know them so much growing up, where people could just say like, "Oh yeah, he was just insane," and then because that's the only thing would be really interesting to see footage from that. Not that there is any existing footage or anything, but that's the only thing I would have thought of. Other than that, I think it's really interesting.
I wish that I had footage of my grandparents' deli because my whole family worked there, and then I worked there in tours. Dave worked there. Dave actually burned his wrist really bad on hot soup.
Burned there.
I told him to toughen up and put it in bleach. That was how he cured the burn. Anyway, it would be cool if I had footage of my grandparents' old deli, but it would also be cool if we had footage of recording on top in Chicago and recording like the earlier records. We have some stuff like with a lot but it's not like early. But it would be cool.
Yeah, I wish we had more time. I think it's actually almost maybe a minute left. I'm sorry to interrupt, John. I just really, this was a real honor, Jenny, to take part in this. I want to thank the four of the Hard Luck Five and Yoshi up there, and also Jen. Just congratulations on the film, and congratulations, fellas, on
thanks, Jen.
Great legacy that Jen preserved. And we're plugging next week. We're going to show Led Zeppelin played here. Jen's going to interview me about that, and we'll, to Robert and Steven and the folks at We Are Here, let's keep it going. Jenny, any last words?
Just thank you all, and we'll see you at the next Rye show. We'll do this again.
That's great. Okay. Justin, John, Ralph, Dave,
thank you.
Yoshi, and Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate you being here tonight. And stay well, stay safe.
Stay safe, wear a mask.
That's right.
Mask
Take care.